Welcome back to Midnight Affairs Tales. We're incredibly grateful for your support. Before we begin today's tale, tell us, which city or country are you joining us from? We love connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story, Chapter 1. The church was glowing with soft lights, flowers hung in perfect symmetry, and violins whispered promises of love. But when I walked through those doors, everything shattered. Claire froze at the altar. Her bouquet hit the floor. "You shouldn't be here," she hissed, her voice slicing through the whispers. "Leave, now." Dozens of eyes turned. Her mother, Lisa, stood like a shadow behind the priest, arms folded, lips curled. I should have walked out. I was never invited. I was never wanted. But before I could move, the groom turned. He stepped toward me, adjusting his cufflinks like it was just another Sunday. Then, low enough that only I could hear, he leaned in and said, "I know you. Not just recognize me, know me." That voice, that tone, it stopped time. He reached into his jacket and gently pressed something into my hand. A folded paper. Old, creased. My handwriting. Claire's name was on the front. Then he stepped back to the altar like nothing happened. I didn't move. Couldn't. My daughter was staring at me like I was the intruder in her fairy tale. Like I was a ghost that didn't know it was dead. My throat burned. I hadn't seen her in years, and now I stood watching her marry a man who knew more about me than she did. How did he get my letter? Why was he helping me? And why, after everything Lisa did to erase me, was he bringing me back into my daughter's life? I didn't come to ruin the wedding. But somehow, I knew this was never just about vows and flowers. It was about truth, and someone wanted it spoken. Before we move ahead, I just want to say, your support truly means everything. We're building something special here, and our next big goal is reaching 10,000 incredible subscribers. If you're feeling the emotions in these stories, imagine what's still to come. Subscribe now, be part of this amazing journey, and let's keep growing together. Your one click can make a real difference. Let's continue the story. I still remember the night I held her for the first time. Claire had a full head of dark hair and lungs like a warrior. I whispered, "I'll never leave you." I meant it more than anything. But life, or more accurately, Lisa, had other plans. We divorced when Claire was 6. Not because of cheating, not abuse, not scandal. Just growing apart. I was army. Discipline, deployments, order. Lisa was chaos and lipstick, sharp smiles and sharper motives. The court gave her custody. Why? Because I missed 3 hearings, on base, Afghanistan. They said I was unreliable. She said I was unstable. I had medals in my hand. She had crocodile tears. Claire changed within a year. The call stopped. My letters came back unopened. Her voice on the other end of the line grew thinner, colder, coached. "Daddy, why don't you love us anymore?" Lisa fed her lies. Said I abandoned them. Said I had another family. Said I stopped caring. I never remarried. Never had another kid. Claire was my blood. My battle. My everything. But she believed the stories. How could she not? I was a voice on a phone. A stranger in a photo frame. I watched her grow up on Facebook. First day of high school. First dance. Graduation. Every picture was a gut punch. No tag. No mention. No invite. It was like I'd died. I kept sending her letters anyway. One every birthday. One every Christmas. Each signed the same. "Love always, Dad." I never got a reply. Until now. And somehow, her groom had one of those letters. Lisa didn't just win custody. She burned the bridge and salted the earth. I still remember standing outside the courthouse, papers in one hand, the photo of me and Claire at Disney in the other. She was 5, grinning, wearing Mickey ears. We just had cotton candy. That was the day she called me her hero. Lisa's lawyer smiled when the ruling came down. She didn't even look at me. Just took Claire's hand and walked out like she'd won some game. That was her game. Not love. Not parenting. Control. She weaponized everything. Twisted memories into trauma. She'd say, "Your father yelled at me," but leave out that I was begging her not to scream in front of Claire. She told the court I had PTSD fits. What I really had was nightmares, quiet, bottled up ones I kept to myself. She showed them a voicemail of me yelling, but cut off the first half where she admitted to hiding Claire from me for 3 weeks. It didn't matter. They saw a soldier with anger in his voice, not a father losing his mind trying to stay in his daughter's life. So they gave her full custody. Supervised visits. Twice a month. Which she canceled. Again and again. The worst part wasn't losing in court. It was watching Claire look at me like a stranger. Like every lie Lisa told her planted a deeper root. She flinched when I hugged her. Said, "Mom said not to believe you." She was 7. That's when I knew I wasn't fighting for custody anymore. I was fighting for memory. Because Lisa wasn't just trying to take my daughter. She was trying to erase me. It happened on a Tuesday evening. I was cleaning out the garage when my phone buzzed, a message request from an unfamiliar name. Nathan R. Hey. I think we need to talk. I stared at the screen. At first, I assumed it was spam or a mistake. But then he followed up. I'm marrying Claire. Your daughter. My hand went still, just clinging to my knuckles. I read the message 5 times. I hadn't heard her name said to me by someone real in over a decade. He sent a location, a coffee shop, 2 blocks from my apartment. Tomorrow. Noon. Alone. The next day, I didn't know what to expect, a confrontation, a guilt trip. I walked in and spotted him immediately. Dark hair, squared jaw, posture like a man raised on structure. I didn't need to ask. Military. Or former. He stood when he saw me. No handshake. Just a long stare. I was under your command. 8 years ago. You probably don't remember. I didn't. But his tone, steady, respectful, was unmistakable. He wasn't here to fight. I met Claire 2 years ago, he said, sitting down across from me. She never mentioned you. Not once. When I asked, she got cold. Told me you abandoned her. My throat clenched. But something felt off. I've seen soldiers lie to themselves before. That's what she looked like she'd memorized someone else's story. He reached into his coat and slid an envelope across the table. It was one of my letters. My handwriting. My words. I found this in a box in Lisa's storage closet, he said. Taped shut. There were dozens. I stared at it like it was alive. She never gave them to Claire, he added. She buried everyone. The anger came slowly. Not the loud kind. The cold kind, deep, still, sharp. Nathan leaned in. I serious. I don't think you deserve what happened. I think Claire deserves the truth. But you need to be the one to tell her. And just like that, the wedding wasn't just a date I hadn't been invited to. It was a battlefield. The more I looked at Nathan, the more I remembered. It hit me like a slow-mounting fog, his voice, his eyes, the posture. Fort Gordon, 2014. A 20-year-old kid with too much discipline and not enough instinct. I made him bleed during drills. He thanked me for it. He wasn't just a soldier I trained. He was a recruit I broke down and rebuilt. You led my squad through the mountain phase, he said. Taught us how to suffer. How to survive. I leaned back in the booth. The cheap light buzzed above us. Outside, traffic passed like nothing in the world was happening. But what I remember most, Nathan continued, was something you said. It wasn't in the handbook. You told us, no matter what war you're fighting, foreign or personal, never stop writing home. Or one day, there won't be a home to come back to. I stared at him, my chest tightening. I never forgot that. So when Claire told me you left without a word, I knew something was wrong. You were the guy who made us write letters every Sunday. I laughed under my breath. Not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. He placed both hands on the table. I know you've been cut out of her life. But this wedding? It's not just about her marrying me. It's the last stop before she closes the book completely. He paused. I'm not okay with that. Something in his voice cracked slightly, not weakness, but conviction. He wasn't just defending me. He was protecting Claire from a lie she didn't know she was living. I want you there, he said. Not to ruin anything. Not to make a scene. Just to be seen. Maybe that's all it takes to start fixing things. And maybe he was right. But I wasn't stupid. Lisa would lose her mind if I showed up. Claire might too. Still, I couldn't ignore the fire starting in my chest, the old instinct. This wasn't a wedding anymore. It was a mission. That night, I sat alone in my apartment with a shoebox I hadn't opened in years. Inside were pieces of a life I wasn't allowed to live, ticket stubs from her school plays I never got to attend, a tiny ballet slipper from her first recital. Every letter I'd written, carbon copied, Time-stamped, stamped, and returned. Claire never saw any of them. Nathan's words kept replaying in my mind. She needs to hear the truth from you. But I couldn't just show up and speak. Lisa would throw a scene. Claire would shut down. The story Lisa planted was old, rooted, rotten, and deeply believed. I needed proof. Irrefutable, chronological, undeniable. So I got to work. I scanned letters, pulled up emails from court dates, found the text threads where Lisa canceled visits. I contacted my old commanding officer, who remembered testifying on my behalf. Even pulled a voicemail from Claire, aged 8, crying, whispering, "Daddy, I miss you." That one almost broke me, but I pressed on. The plan was simple. Nathan would add me to the guest list, secretly. I'd show up, stay low, stay silent, until the moment was right. Not to ruin the wedding, but to rescue the truth. I wrote a new letter. Not for Lisa. Not even for me. For Claire. Everything from start to now. No begging. No bitterness. Just the truth with timestamps, documents, recordings. And the line that mattered most: I never left you. I was erased. I sealed it in an envelope, old school. My handwriting. My signature. No hiding. When I handed it to Nathan 2 nights before the wedding, he held it like it was something sacred. "She deserves this," he said. "She'll hear you out. I'll make sure of it." And in that moment, I didn't care if Lisa set the whole venue on fire. I was going to see my daughter. She was going to see me. No more silence. 2 nights before the wedding, Nathan called me from his car. "She's starting to get suspicious," he said. "Claire's smart. She senses something's off." "She knows you're hiding something?" I asked. He sighed. Not in words, but in the way she looks at me. Like she's trying to read through me instead of look at me. "Good," I said. He was silent for a beat. "Good. If she's second-guessing the story Lisa told her, that means the cracks are already showing." Nathan didn't say anything right away. Just breathed into the speaker like he was staring out at something heavy. "She told me last night," he finally said, "that she never knew what it felt like to be fully loved by a man. Not really. That every guy she dated before me felt distant. Detached." My chest tightened. I didn't say a word. And then she said, Nathan's voice caught. She said, "I think it's because of my dad. I don't remember him ever trying. Ever showing up." I could feel my blood shift temperature. Cold. Then hot. Then still. "I wanted to tell her the truth right there," he said. "But it's not my truth to give. That belongs to you." "Nathan," I said quietly, "you're walking into a storm." "I know. No, I mean it. Lisa isn't just a bitter ex. She's strategic. Calculated. She turned a child into a soldier in her own war." "I've seen war," he said. "This one's personal." Then he paused. "She doesn't deserve to walk into that wedding blind." And just like that, I knew what I had to do. I wasn't just attending a wedding. I was infiltrating enemy territory, with my daughter's future on the line. Nathan made the call in front of me. "Yeah, hi, it's Nathan Ross. Groom for the Jensen Ross wedding this Saturday. I need to make an update to the guest list." He read my name clearly, spelled it out slowly, then added, "He'll be sitting on my side. Row 4. Then he hung up, glanced at me, and said, "You're in." I hadn't felt that kind of tension since the desert. Not in battle, but in briefing. This was a live-op now. I spent the next day preparing for every possibility. Lisa finding out. Claire walking out. Security throwing me out mid-ceremony. But Nathan reassured me. No one will know until it's too late. We rehearsed everything. Where I'd enter. Where I'd sit. When I'd pass the letter. Not before the vows, I told him. That moment matters to her. I won't ruin it. But she has to know before she speaks. "Right," he nodded. "Right after I finish mine." I nodded. Then paused. "Nathan, what if she doesn't believe me? What if she tears the letter up?" Then she wasn't ready to know. "But at least, you showed up. That's more than she's been told you ever did." I packed the envelope in a worn leather case. Slipped it inside my coat. Wore a plain suit. No medals. No polished boots. Just me, the version of myself Lisa tried to bury. And I prayed the past wouldn't explode on impact. The venue was a white stone chapel tucked in the hills. Quiet. Private. Picturesque. The kind of place fairy tales get filmed. I sat in the 4th row. Far right. Nobody noticed me. Not yet. Claire walked down the aisle in a lace-stitched dress. My heart stopped. She looked like her mother, but stronger, softer, better. She didn't see me. Lisa did. She froze in her seat, eyes narrowing. But she couldn't cause a scene. Not yet. She was surrounded by smiles, cameras, and judgment. She turned back to the altar, and I watched her shoulders rise with tension. Nathan stood tall, calm. His vows were quiet, sincere. I promise to protect your heart, even from the ghosts you don't know are haunting you. Claire smiled, eyes glossy. Then, just before the officiant turned to her, Nathan turned slightly and whispered something in her ear. She looked confused. Then he stepped back and walked toward me. 10 steps. No one else seemed to notice. He stopped by my row, reached into his coat, and handed her the letter. Not with fanfare. With purpose. Claire stared at him, brows furrowed. Then her eyes met mine. Recognition. Fear. Anger. Confusion. Every emotion in the human spectrum in 2 seconds flat. She clutched the letter like it burned her fingers. Read it, Nathan whispered. The entire chapel was silent. The storm was coming, and I was already in the eye of it. Claire held the envelope like it was dangerous, like it might explode if she opened it wrong. Nathan stepped back to the altar, eyes steady. Lisa, 2 rows ahead, was frozen. She didn't turn around, didn't speak. But I saw the muscles in her neck clench like a fist. Claire looked at the letter again. Her hands trembled slightly. Then, right there in front of the altar, in front of her groom, the officiant, her guests, she opened it. Paper unfolded. Soft crinkle. It sounded deafening in the silence. Her eyes scanned the first paragraph, then the second. I watched her face. It didn't just change, it unraveled. Her jaw dropped an inch. Her lips moved silently, mouthing words. Then her breath hitched. She blinked rapidly. A hand flew to her chest. Her fingers curled the edge of the paper. And then, one whispered word. No. The officiant looked lost. Nathan stood like a statue. I stayed still. Claire looked up. Straight at me. Her voice cracked when she spoke. This isn't true. Tell me this isn't true. Lisa finally stood, calm as a rattlesnake. Sweetheart, she said carefully, he's trying to ruin your day. You told me you didn't want him here, remember? Claire's stare sharpened. She shook her head, slow. You said he never tried. You said he walked away from me. From us. I did what was best for you, Lisa replied, firm now. He doesn't deserve your time. That man left you. Claire raised the letter high, her voice shaking. Then why do I have 10 years of unopened letters in my hands? Why are there court documents in here? Photos? Screenshots of you canceling visitations? Lisa's smile cracked like a windshield hit with a brick. Claire, listen to me. No. She shouted, louder than I'd ever heard her. Her bouquet hit the ground again. Someone's been lying to me, Claire said through her teeth. And for the first time. I don't think it's him. The guests began murmuring. Phones lifted. A few whispers spiraled through the pews like smoke. Lisa turned toward them, trying to control the optics, but the panic in her eyes betrayed her. Claire wasn't done. She stepped away from the altar, the letter clutched in her hand, and stared her mother down like a soldier confronting her commanding officer. I need you to answer me one question, Mom, she said, voice like glass under strain. Did you keep these letters from me? Lisa didn't blink. I protected you. Answer. The question. Claire's voice sliced through the air. A beat of silence. Then Lisa exhaled slowly and dropped the smile altogether. Yes, she said, because I knew they'd poison your heart. Claire's lips parted, disbelief etched in every line of her face. They were my words, I said softly, standing now. Not poison. Just love. Just the truth. Lisa turned on me like a whip. You don't get to speak. You don't get to show up after a decade and pretend to be a hero. I'm not a hero, I replied. But I'm not the villain you made me, either. Claire looked between us, the shock settling into something harder. And the voicemails, she asked Lisa, her voice quieter. The recordings from the custody court? The photo from my 4th birthday with him holding me in uniform. Was that fake too? Lisa's jaw tightened. You were too young. You don't understand what he did to us. No, Claire snapped. I don't. And you made sure I never could. Lisa's face paled. Claire took 2 steps back, letter still clenched in her hand. Then she turned to Nathan. We need to pause this. Whatever you need, he said. She looked at the priest. We're not finishing the ceremony. Not today. Then her voice dropped, barely above a whisper. I need time to understand who I really am. And just like that, the wedding was off. But the real story had just begun. The chapel emptied in silence. Some guests whispered. Some stared. Some just walked out, unsure what they just witnessed. Nathan stayed by Claire's side the entire time. His hand never left hers, but he didn't speak unless she did. The man knew how to be there without trying to fix everything. That's rare. Lisa left first, sunglasses on, jaw set. A hollow shell of the woman who once orchestrated a decade-long lie. I stayed behind. I didn't want to force anything. But just as I turned to leave, a voice called out behind me. Wait. Claire stood at the doorway. Her hair slightly disheveled, makeup streaked just beneath one eye. But she looked real, unfiltered, raw. I need to ask you something, she said. I turned to her fully. Anything. She walked toward me, letter still in hand, now worn from gripping. Why didn't you fight harder? She asked, her voice wobbling. Why didn't you force your way in? God. That question burned. I took a breath. Because every time I tried, it made things worse for you. Every time I showed up, Lisa twisted it into pain. So I stayed away, hoping one day you'd come looking. Tears welled in her eyes. I did, but by then I thought you didn't want me anymore. I shook my head. There wasn't a single day I didn't want you. She nodded, slowly. Okay. Then, without warning, she stepped forward and hugged me. Not a soft, polite hug. A full body, collapsing, I missed my dad for 15 years kind of hug. I wrapped my arms around her and didn't say a word. There was nothing left to say, not in that moment. But I knew this. The war for my daughter's heart wasn't over. It had just reached a ceasefire. And maybe, just maybe, peace was possible. The chapel was empty now. The flowers still hung on the walls, and the candles still flickered gently. But it didn't feel like a wedding had just ended. It felt like a battle had been fought, one without music or applause. Claire sat on the edge of the altar, heels off, her dress wrinkled from stress. Nathan knelt beside her, rubbing her back gently. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. I stood a few feet away, not wanting to crowd her. But she waved me over. Sit, she said quietly. I lowered myself to the step beside her. For a moment, none of us spoke. Just the soft hum of silence, filled with the sound of a family trying to remember how to be one. Can I ask you something? Claire said, eyes focused on the floor. Of course. Do you remember my 8th birthday? The one at Grandma's? I smiled faintly. The one with the rainstorm? You asked for a piñata and then cried when it got soaked. She turned slowly to me, her voice cracking. I didn't think you'd remember. I reached into my coat, pulled out a small, water-stained photo I'd carried for years. Claire in a blue princess dress, soaked, laughing, frosting on her nose. I kept it in my wallet like a compass, away back home. I never forgot anything about you, I said. She studied the photo for a long time. Then, for the first time since this whole thing started, she smiled. Not fully, not wide, but enough to crack the stone around her heart. Then Nathan stood up. Claire, your mom's gone. The guests are gone. This day's already off the rails. So let's stop pretending it has to follow any rules. Claire looked up at both of us. Then let's start from scratch. No dress. No altar. No audience. Just truth. Behind the chapel was a small stone garden, quiet, untouched, lined with blooming night jasmine. Claire walked there barefoot, holding her dress up at the knees. Nathan and I followed a few steps behind, letting her lead. She sat down on a bench beneath a twisted oak and looked out over the valley. I feel like I've been living someone else's life, she said. Like every memory I had, just flipped. I sat beside her. That feeling doesn't go away fast, but it gets quieter once you stop feeding the lies. Claire didn't speak for a long time. Then she pulled a folded paper from the bodice of her dress. I found this in Mom's old drawer a few months ago. I didn't know what to make of it then, but now she handed it to me. It was one of my emails printed and timestamped, begging Lisa for visitation. Dated just 3 weeks before she told Claire I'd ghosted her. I exhaled sharply. She said you never wrote again after the divorce, Claire whispered. But there's more. Nathan leaned in slightly. Claire reached into her small clutch purse and pulled out a thumb drive. I found it by accident, hidden behind her jewelry box. I took it carefully, heart pounding. There are voicemails, videos, even a few therapy transcripts. I haven't looked through everything, but I think Mom was planning to bury them. My mind raced. If those recordings proved what I thought they did, then this wasn't just personal. It was malicious, systematic. And now, thanks to Claire, we had the evidence. Why are you giving this to me? I asked. She looked me straight in the eyes. Because I want to know who you really were, not who she told me you were. Then, softly, let's find out together. Later that night, Nathan brought over his laptop. We sat in my apartment, dim lighting, Claire wrapped in a hoodie of mine from years ago that she found in an old box I'd kept labeled Claire, Save. The thumb drive clicked in. The first file was a voicemail. Lisa's voice, harsh and quick. If he tries to show up again, I'll call CPS. I'll say he hit her. That's all I need. You don't threaten me with court. I own the court. Claire flinched. I sat frozen. Next file. A therapy transcript from a session Lisa apparently recorded illegally. Therapist, have you ever told Claire the truth about her father's letters? Lisa, she doesn't need the truth. She needs loyalty. And I need control. Claire gasped, pressing her palm to her mouth. We kept watching. A photo folder appeared, scans of birthday cards, court letters, holiday mail, every single thing Lisa had said I never sent. It was all here. Proof that I tried. That I never stopped trying. Nathan leaned forward, hands clenched. You can go to court with this. She committed fraud, emotional abuse, suppressed evidence. I don't want revenge, I said slowly. I want my daughter. Claire looked at me, eyes glossy again. You already have me, she whispered. Then her voice hardened. But we're not letting her walk away from this. She opened her phone and started typing. Fast. Focused. Who are you texting? Nathan asked. Claire didn't look up. Someone who needs to see this. A beat of silence passed before she spoke again, voice cold, sharp. My mother. Claire typed for almost a full minute. Then she stopped, deleted everything, and started over. Nathan and I watched silently. This wasn't our move, this was hers. Her thumb hovered for a second. Then send. She'll see it, Claire said. She checks her text like a hawk when she's in damage control mode. What did you say? I asked. I told her I have the recordings, the emails, that I know everything. And I told her I'm not angry. I'm done. Nathan leaned forward. That'll rattle her more than screaming ever could. Claire's eyes didn't blink. Exactly. Then her phone buzzed. One new message. From Lisa. You don't understand what you're doing. Claire stared at the screen. No, she whispered. You don't. She shut the phone off, tossed it onto the couch, and stood. We need a plan. If she thinks I'm bluffing, she'll start planting counter-narratives. She'll spin it on Facebook, make a show for the relatives she's already started, Nathan interrupted, holding up his phone. She posted a cryptic status 20 minutes ago. Some people love to play victim when they're the ones holding the knife. Claire snorted. She always preemptively accuses people of the exact thing she's doing. It was classic manipulation, and we all knew it. But now, we had proof. The question was, what to do with it? Claire's expression hardened. I'm going to expose her, but not with a shout. With a story. And that's when it hit me. Claire wasn't just reclaiming her past. She was rewriting the ending. The next morning, Claire posted a video. She sat on a balcony, face bare, eyes red from everything she'd faced the night before. No filters. No effects. Just her truth. My name is Claire Jensen, she began, voice calm but clear. I was raised to believe my father abandoned me. That he didn't care. That he chose the military over me. A pause. That was a lie. She laid it all out, not with venom, but with clarity. The forged silence. The withheld letters. The voicemails. Even a small clip. Lisa's voice saying, she doesn't need the truth. She needs loyalty. And I need control. It played for 6 seconds. 6 seconds that would fracture the image Lisa spent years perfecting. Claire's voice returned. My father didn't leave. He was erased. And I won't let him be invisible anymore. I watched the video 3 times in a row. Each time, I felt like I was hearing her say, "Dad," again for the first time. Within minutes, the comments started flooding in. "This is heartbreaking and powerful." My mom did the same thing. "Thank you for speaking up. You're so brave. Your dad must be proud." And I was. God, I was. But we weren't prepared for what came next. 3 hours later, Lisa responded. A Facebook Live video. Professionally lit. Hair and makeup flawless. She cried on camera. Accused Claire of manipulation. Said the recordings were edited, the letters staged, the story ripped from context. But her performance? It reeked of desperation. Then something wild happened. Lisa's own sister commented beneath the video. "You lied to all of us, Lisa. I remember you bragging about hiding the letters. Don't make me post screenshots." The floodgates opened. And for the first time, the mask didn't just slip. It shattered. By sundown, Claire's video had crossed 500,000 views. It was being shared not just by friends, but by advocates, bloggers, even a few small news pages focused on parental alienation. Suddenly, this wasn't just our family's dirty secret. It was a story people recognized. And Lisa was losing her grip. She sent Claire 10 texts, then 20 voice notes. A voicemail where she cried so hard she could barely speak, but still never apologized. "Please take the video down," she begged. "You don't understand how this looks." Claire sat at our table, listening with headphones. Then she said, coldly, she still cares more about how she looks than what she did. I nodded. She's trying to control the fire instead of owning it. That night, Claire made one final post. "This isn't revenge. This is release. I forgive what I understand. But I can't rebuild on lies. I'm moving forward with truth. And I hope one day she does too." The comment section exploded. But it was the private messages that really showed us how far this went. Dozens of women, some men, too, sharing stories. Similar manipulations. Lost relationships. Kids turned against parents. Claire looked at the messages, silent, her expression unreadable. Then she whispered, "How many kids have no idea what was stolen from them?" It wasn't just personal anymore. It was bigger. That night, she called me Dad, again, no hesitation. Just truth. And Nathan? He said something I'll never forget. "You didn't just get your daughter back," he said. "You helped her find herself." But I knew. The past had one more secret buried, and it was about to surface. It had been 4 days since Claire's video hit the internet like a hammer. 4 days since Lisa went silent. 4 days since Claire called me Dad, without flinching. We should have felt peace. But something was off. Nathan had been quiet. Too quiet. He was present, helpful, warm, steady, but I noticed the cracks forming under his composure, the tension in his shoulders, the way he paused mid-sentence sometimes, like replaying something in his head. I caught him once in the hallway, scrolling through an old photo of him in uniform. His thumb froze on one specific image, a squad group shot. Desert camo, wind in their eyes. His posture was stiff, unreadable. I approached carefully. "That's from your first deployment?" I asked. He nodded. "Yeah. Looks like a tough run." His voice came slow. I studied him. "You never mentioned much about what happened after training." He looked up at me, eyes darker than usual. "Because I wasn't allowed to." He walked away after that. Not angry, not dismissive, just heavy. Later that night, I sat alone with Claire while Nathan stepped outside to take a call. "I think he's hiding something," I said. She frowned. "Like what?" "I don't know, but I know soldiers. And Nathan's not restless, he's haunted." Claire didn't deny it. Instead, she whispered, "He said he joined the army for answers." "About his dad." That stopped me cold. "What about his dad?" "I don't know. Just that something happened. Something classified. He said it involved you." The words hit like a blade. I stared at the closed door where Nathan was still on the phone. And for the first time since this all began, I realized Claire wasn't the only one living in the shadow of a lie. The next morning, Nathan was already up, coffee made, jacket on. He looked like a man about to deliver bad news. "We need to talk," he said. I sat across from him while Claire stayed in bed, unaware of what was coming. "I wasn't honest about how I found you," Nathan began. I stayed quiet. "I didn't message you because of Claire's video. I started looking for you before I even proposed." That caught my breath. Why? He pulled out a folder. Brown, sealed, official. My father, Victor Ross, served under your command. My heart stuttered. I hadn't heard that name in 15 years. He was dishonorably discharged, Nathan said flatly. Told me he was betrayed. Said it was your word that buried him. That you took his career, and everything else. I stared at the folder. That chapter of my life had been locked away for years. But now, here it was again, knocking. Nathan continued. When I met Claire and found out her last name was Jensen, something clicked. I looked into her family. Saw your name. Your face. And I realized, he paused. I had no idea if I was falling in love with her or walking into your life for revenge. Silence. Thick. Suffocating. I didn't propose to use her. I proposed because I love her, he added quickly. But at first? Yeah, I wanted to see you. To ask questions. My mind spiraled through images of Victor Ross, reckless, insubordinate, dangerous under pressure. He'd cost us a mission once. I took the heat for it. I buried it. You think I destroyed your father, I said. I used to. But now, I don't know what to believe. I met his stare. Not with anger. With certainty. Then let's uncover the truth. Together. We cracked the folder open on the kitchen table. Inside, a military report, 2 internal memos, and 1 classified transcript, partially redacted. Nathan slid the papers over slowly. He never told me what happened. Just that you got him kicked. That something was covered up. I skimmed the documents. My pulse climbed. February 14th, 2010. Location: Kandahar, Afghanistan. The redacted lines covered names, locations, logistics, but the narrative was clear. Victor Ross had disobeyed a direct order during an intel retrieval op. He compromised the mission. An Afghan informant died as a result. And me? I took responsibility in the field. But my personal report, the one I submitted to my CO later, made everything clear. I named Victor. Backed it with witness testimony. He got the discharge. I got the scars. Nathan read silently beside me. When he reached the part about the informant's death, he whispered, he told me it was an ambush. That he saved people. I shook my head. He ran us into an ambush. Because he didn't listen. Then I added, he wasn't a monster. But he wasn't ready to lead. He got people hurt. Nathan closed the folder. I don't know what hurts more, he said quietly. Knowing he lied to me, or realizing I've been carrying his anger for nothing. I put a hand on his shoulder. You carried the truth to the edge. Now you know what to do with it. Nathan looked at me. Not as a recruit. Not as an adversary. But as a son-in-law. And in that moment, we both let go of ghosts. That night, the 3 of us sat around the living room. Me, Claire, and Nathan. No lies, no walls, no scripts. The fire crackled low. Claire curled under a blanket, sipping chamomile tea like it was armor. Nathan sat beside her, one hand holding hers, the other scribbling in a journal, probably a habit from his deployment days. It was the first time in years I felt like I was part of a family again. Not a guest. Not a relic from a forgotten life. Did you ever want more kids? Claire asked suddenly. The question caught me sideways. I tried, I said, eyes fixed on the fireplace. After the divorce. I dated a woman for a couple years, but it never felt real. I think I was still stuck in the past. Still hoping you'd come back. Claire's eyes softened. I'm sorry. Don't be. You didn't leave me. You were taken. Silence lingered, not uncomfortably. Then Nathan leaned forward. I always thought my dad's story defined me. That I had to carry his shame or fix his legacy. He glanced at me. But the last few days? I realized. I get to start my own. Claire squeezed his hand. We all do. In that moment, 3 broken people finally putting something whole together felt bigger than any wedding could have delivered. We didn't need vows. We had truth. And truth, once spoken, starts to heal everything. It was 2 days later when Lisa made her final move. A lawyer's envelope showed up at my doorstep. Claire's name on the front. Inside, a statement claiming that Claire's video defamed her character, caused emotional harm, and put her at risk. A formal request to take it down, cease slander, or face civil legal action. Claire read it 3 times. Her face didn't move. I knew she'd go this route, she said finally. If she can't control the narrative, she'll try to bury it under paper. Do we need to lawyer up? Nathan asked. Claire shook her head. No, because I didn't lie. We sat together and composed a response, not angry, not aggressive. Just a list of timestamps, proof of authenticity, and a calm reminder that truth isn't slander when it's backed with evidence. Claire ended the letter with a single sentence. Your silence now would be more powerful than any lawsuit. We mailed it that night. And when Lisa received it, she didn't respond. No lawsuit came. No apology either. Just silence. And somehow, that was louder than all her lies combined. The wedding dress still hung in Claire's closet. She never returned it, never sold it. And that night, she pulled it down from the hanger and laid it across the bed like a chapter waiting to be rewritten. I think I'm ready, she said. For what? Nathan asked. To do it again. But this time right. No drama. No secrets. No shame hovering over the aisle. Just them. Us. Family. We set a new date. Nothing grand. Just a backyard garden, immediate friends, a small cake. No cameras. No press. No illusions. But before that, Claire did something I didn't expect. She opened the attic and brought down a cardboard box labeled Dad. Inside were things I hadn't seen in years. My old boots from deployment, a handwritten Father's Day card in crayon, even the photo of her holding my dog tags the day I shipped out. I kept it all, she said softly. Even when I was told to forget you. I couldn't. I swallowed the lump in my throat and ran my fingers over the card. It read, My daddy's the strongest man in the world. But even strong men need hugs. Claire leaned into me. You've got one waiting. And for the first time since the day I lost custody, I didn't feel like a soldier. I felt like a father. Claire stood under the soft kitchen light, fingers tapping her phone, checking the calendar. Not frantic like before. Not pressured. Just thoughtful. Nathan entered from the patio, towel slung over his shoulder, fresh from a run. He leaned over her shoulder. You thinking? She nodded. Yeah. What date? 2 months from now. Same day Dad shipped out when I was 5. I looked up from the couch. You remember that? She smiled faintly. I didn't. Not until I saw the photo in that old box. I figured, if that was the day you left, maybe it should also be the day we all come back. My chest tightened. She wasn't just choosing a date. She was reclaiming history. We spent the next few weeks building everything quietly. No planner. No spotlight. Just us. A backyard rented from a family friend. String lights. A small garden Claire and Nathan planted together. Every decision was intentional. The guest list? Only the people who stayed when it all went dark. No Lisa. No extended relatives trying to play both sides. Only truth-bearers. Claire didn't wear the same dress. She found a simpler one. No veil. No tiara. Just an open-back ivory gown and a pair of boots underneath, the same pair I gave her after a hike when she was 12. Because I'm not walking into this dainty, she said. I'm walking into this strong. And for the first time, the wedding wasn't a performance. It was a promise. The day arrived with no fanfare. Just soft sun, warm breeze, a few folding chairs, lanterns hanging from low branches. Claire stood in the kitchen, lacing her boots, wedding dress puddled around her knees. Nathan waited in the backyard, pacing slightly but smiling the entire time. I adjusted my jacket, the same one I wore the day I retired from the army. Claire walked toward me. I know it's not traditional, she said, but can you walk me down? I didn't answer. I just offered my arm. She took it, breath trembling. And together, we stepped into the light. Every person stood as we moved through the grass, not because someone cued them, but because they felt it. I saw eyes well up, smiles form. And in the middle of it all, Nathan waiting, hands folded, eyes locked on Claire like she was the only person on earth. When we reached him, I didn't just hand her off. I looked him in the eye. You know what this means, I said. He nodded. Yes, sir. Then Claire turned to me. I got my dad back, she said, voice just loud enough for us. Now I get to start fresh. She leaned in and kissed my cheek. Thank you for never giving up. The officiant cleared her throat gently. The ceremony began. But honestly, the vows started long before that. Claire didn't use a script. She didn't pull out a card or a folded note. She just looked into Nathan's eyes, took a breath, and said, "I don't know what perfect love looks like. I wasn't taught it. I had to unlearn lies to make space for it. But you showed me that love is less about saying the right thing and more about staying even when it's hard." Nathan blinked, swallowing emotion. Claire continued, "You waited for me to find my truth. You gave me space to break. And when I rebuilt, you were right there, helping me hold the pieces." She smiled. "Today, I marry you not because it's easy, but because it's real. And real is enough for me." Then it was Nathan's turn. He didn't speak right away. He stepped forward, took her hand, and said, "I thought I came into your life searching for my father's truth. But I found something better, a future." He glanced at me. "Your dad gave me the tools to be a soldier. But you taught me how to be a man." His voice cracked. "And I promised to never rewrite your story, just to live it with you." They exchanged rings. No music swelled. No doves flew. But when they kissed, there was nothing louder in the world than that silence. Because sometimes peace roars louder than war. The wedding reception wasn't a grand ballroom. It was the backyard. String lights overhead, mismatched chairs, laughter cutting through the night air like a warm blade. A live guitarist played soft blues under the oak tree where Claire and Nathan shared their first dance. No speeches. No awkward traditions. Just connection. I stood near the edge of it all, sipping cider, watching Claire laugh with a childhood friend she hadn't seen since middle school. She looked free. She looked home. Then I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned. It was Lisa's sister, Rachel. I hadn't seen her in years. She'd gone quiet after the divorce, distanced herself from Lisa's drama. But now, her eyes were steady, focused. "We need to talk," she said quietly. I nodded, and we stepped away from the lights into the shadows near the fence. "She's planning something," Rachel whispered. "Lisa, she's not done." I tensed. She already sent the legal threats. Nothing held. Rachel nodded. "That wasn't the plan. That was a distraction." I stared at her. "What's she doing?" "She's meeting with someone," she said. "An old army contact. A reporter. She's trying to get ahead of the story twisted. Say you forged everything. That you brainwashed Claire and Nathan." My pulse jumped. "She has one more card to play," Rachel added. "And she thinks it'll bury you for good." I looked back at the glowing backyard. The peace we built was real. But Lisa? She was about to drag it into the dirt. And this time, she had help. The next day, I met Rachel at a diner 2 towns over. Neutral ground. Cheap coffee. Quiet booths. She came in with a flash drive clutch tight in her hand. She left it in her desk. "Didn't even encrypt it," she said, sliding it across the table. "What's on it?" I asked. Rachel looked around, lowered her voice. "She's been collecting pieces of your military record. Snippets. Redacted segments. She's going to splice it, take your reports out of context, and leak it anonymously to discredit you." I blinked. She doesn't even understand what half of that means. She doesn't have to. She's got a friend in media who will. And he's already biased against military whistleblowers. He's itching to take someone down. I clenched the drive in my palm. It felt like a detonator. "She wants to flip the narrative," Rachel said. "Make you look like a dangerous man with a cover-up past." I sat back, mind racing. She's weaponizing classified mud, hoping no one checks the context. Rachel nodded. "But here's the twist. That folder? It has her voice memos too. Notes to herself. Recordings of calls. She's been documenting her plans." I froze. "What kind of notes?" Rachel's expression turned grim. "She literally says, if I bury him in headlines, maybe Claire will forget again." My stomach dropped. Rachel slid a small recorder across the table. "Hit play." Lisa's voice crackled through. "They'll believe what I tell them. They always do. The internet doesn't care about truth, it cares about the first headline." She laughed at the end. Cold. Confident. Like a woman who thought she'd already won. But this time, she left her fingerprints. That night, I sat with Claire and Nathan at the dining table. The flash drive plugged into the laptop. Lisa's voice filled the room again, clear as ever, spinning her strategy like she was planning a press campaign, not an ambush. Claire didn't speak at first. She just listened, eyes narrowing, hands gripping her tea so tightly her knuckles went white. She was never going to stop, Claire finally said. Even after the wedding. Even after I said goodbye. She doesn't want control, I said. She wants surrender. Nathan was already making notes, writing timestamps, cross-referencing files with Lisa's old social media posts. He was faster than I expected, methodical, surgical. She's bluffing with a messy story, he said. We don't counter with noise. We counter with receipts. Claire nodded. We're not playing defense this time. She stood up, walked to the cabinet, and pulled out a folder, the one we used to build her original video. We update it, she said. We tell the full story. Military records. My childhood. The custody lies. Everything. No cuts. No editing. Just truth. Nathan added, and this time, we let others speak. Rachel. My old CO. Even your friends. I raised my brow. You want to go public again? Claire looked at me, fire in her eyes. No. I want to finish what we started. Because if she wants to tell the world who I am, I'm going to show them who she really is. A storm was coming. But this time, we were the thunder. Claire sat in front of the camera, barefaced again, just like last time. No script. No makeup team. No production value. Just truth. Nathan adjusted the lighting, soft, warm, nothing flashy. I sat out of frame, watching from the hallway like a sentry guarding a battlefield. Claire took a breath, then hit record. My name is Claire Ross Jensen, and this is the last time I'll have to explain myself. Her voice didn't shake. Not once. She laid it all out again, but deeper. Not just the pain, but the strategy behind it. The targeted erasure. The documents Lisa tried to weaponize. The recordings she planned to leak. The campaign to make me look like the villain in a movie I never starred in. She thought she could rewrite my story, Claire said. But this time, I'm holding the pen. Then she pressed play on Lisa's voice. One specific line. If I bury him in headlines, maybe Claire will forget again. The silence that followed that sentence said more than any closing monologue ever could. She ended the video calmly. No tears. Just resolve. I forgive my mother. But forgiveness doesn't mean silence. Some truths deserve to echo. She clicked, upload. And just like that, the world had a new story. Not a scandal. A reckoning. The video went live at 10:06 p.m. By 10:32, it had over 10,000 views. At 11:07, it was trending on 3 platforms. By midnight, it was everywhere. The comment section was a tidal wave: survivors, supporters, advocates. Even a few public figures retweeted it with captions like, "Watch this. Then think before you believe every estranged parent story." Nathan watched the analytics like a tactician tracking enemy movement. She's going to see this, he said. Before sunrise. Claire sipped tea, unfazed. Let her. I turned to her. Are you ready for her response? Claire nodded. I don't need to be ready for her. I'm ready for me. At 2:14 a.m., Lisa posted. It wasn't a video this time. It was a single image. A black square. Captioned, "You win. I'm done." No denial. No drama. Just retreat. But what struck me most was the silence that followed. No supporters jumped to her defense. No mutual friends reposted her cryptic plea. It was like the internet had already made its decision. And in the stillness of it all, Claire looked lighter than I'd ever seen her. A week passed. The storm? Over. Lisa didn't show up. No lawsuits came. The so-called journalist who promised her a platform deleted his post after receiving a cease and desist backed with timestamps and files from military legal counsel. For once, the good guys didn't just win, they held the line. Claire invited me and Nathan's parents over for dinner. Nothing fancy. Just lasagna, candles, and real conversation. We laughed. Shared stories. Remembered old wounds but didn't pick at them. And in the middle of the meal, Claire stood, glass in hand. I just want to say thank you, she said. To all of you. For believing me. For standing by me. And Dad, for never erasing me, even when you were being erased. My throat caught. I raised my glass too. You came back louder than any lie ever shouted. That's all you. She smiled. And for once, no shadow followed behind it. That house didn't feel like a minefield anymore. It felt like home. A few nights later, Claire handed me a small white envelope. Old. yellowed slightly at the corners. My handwriting on the front. To Claire, age 13. I blinked. I wrote this. She nodded. Found it at the bottom of Lisa's safe. Never opened. She placed it in my palm. I think it's time I read it. We sat on the porch, lanterns glowing, the night air soft. Claire peeled the flap open gently and unfolded the paper. I remembered every word before she even read them. I don't know where you are, but I hope you know this. I never stopped looking for you. Not once. Even if they say I'm gone, I'm still your dad. I'll always be one letter away. Claire covered her mouth, eyes misted. I wish I'd seen this back then, she whispered. I nodded. You weren't supposed to. Not then. You had to find your way in your own time. She leaned her head on my shoulder. And in that moment, nothing else mattered. Not the years lost. Not the scars. Just the now. And it was more than enough. Claire stood in front of a community center podium, microphone squeaking slightly as the crowd settled. This wasn't a press event or a viral stunt. It was a quiet night called Unheard Voices, a small platform for people who had once been silenced to speak freely. She wasn't there as a victim anymore. She was a speaker. I used to write letters to no one, she said. Or so I thought. A few heads nodded. An older woman wiped her eyes. A teenage boy near the back stared, unmoving. My mom made me believe I was unwanted, unseen. But the truth was hiding in mailboxes I never had the keys to. She held up a letter, one I'd written when she was 16. I thought these letters would never matter. But now, they're proof. Of love. Of effort. Of someone refusing to give up on me when the world told him to disappear. I watched from the back. People weren't clapping politely. They were feeling it. Claire finished strong. I found my father again. But more importantly, I found myself. And if you're sitting here tonight feeling invisible, I promise you this. Silence is not the end of your story. And in that moment, I realized she wasn't just healing herself anymore. She was leading others out of the dark. A week later, I got a call from a private courier. A package. No return address. It was a black folder, thick, with a single label on the front. Phoenix. I froze. That code name hadn't crossed my mind in years. It was a covert program, one I helped shape but never spoke of again. It trained soldiers for high-intensity scenarios, psychological warfare, internal threat analysis, silence-based resilience. I opened the folder slowly. Inside? Nathan's name, his profile, his psychological evals, his performance under pressure, and a note, hand-signed by a general. He is not just a product of this system. He is proof that it worked. Beneath it was my own evaluation of him, one I'd written a decade ago and forgotten. This man will carry pain quietly and purposefully. He will not just survive war. He will protect peace. Nathan walked in as I was still reading. He saw the folder. He paused. I always wondered if you knew, he said. I didn't, I replied. But I should have. He sat beside me. I wasn't just finding you for Claire, he admitted. Part of me was making peace with what this program did to me. And now, maybe that peace is possible. I nodded slowly. Maybe Phoenix was never about war. Nathan looked out the window. Maybe it was about rebuilding from ashes. It was a quiet Sunday morning. Claire knocked gently, holding a brown paper bag and a shy smile. I wasn't sure what kind of gift dads like, she said. So, I winged it. Inside the bag, a small ceramic mug. Hand-painted. The kind kids make in craft class. A little lopsided. Words scrawled in shaky brushstrokes. World's most stubborn dad. Thank God. I laughed hard. Then I teared up. No shame in it. I love it, I said. You nailed it. I figured you didn't need a perfect gift. Just a real one. She sat with me on the porch, feet tucked up, breeze rustling through the wind chimes. We talked for hours, not about trauma or loss. Just books. Music. Travel dreams. Like the years never broke us. At one point, she looked at me sideways and asked, "Do you think we could have ever had this, if none of it happened?" I thought carefully. No, I said. But I don't think we needed easy. We just needed real. And that was enough. Weeks passed. Life slowed into something stable. But one night, I found myself alone with an old memory, the letter I wrote to Claire on the day she graduated high school. A letter I never sent. I'd kept it in a drawer, buried deep. I unfolded it. The ink was smudged from the day I cried while writing it. I don't know if you'll remember me today, but I remember you, your first words, your scraped knees, your laugh. I remember everything. And if today's the day you become your own woman, know this, you were always mine, even when I couldn't hold your hand. I folded it again, walked it down the hallway, slipped it into Claire's nightstand drawer. No note, no explanation, just a whisper from the past, left quietly for her to find. Because some letters don't need to be sent to be received. It was late, past midnight, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. At first, I almost let it ring out. But something in my gut said pick up. I answered. No voice. Then, a moment later, the voicemail came through. 1 minute. Unedited. Raw. Lisa. Her voice was different, not smug or condescending. Just hollow. I know you probably won't listen to this, but I guess I'm doing it for me, not you. She exhaled shaky, unsure. I saw the Father's Day photos. She looked happy. I haven't seen her like that since, before I started lying. I thought I was protecting her, but I think I was just trying to punish you. I can't undo it. I won't ask forgiveness, but I'm letting go. For real this time. Pause. Then, tell her, if she ever wants to call, she can. But if not, I'll disappear for good. Click. No excuses. No blame shifting. Just a woman who finally saw the wreckage she left behind. I didn't replay it. Didn't need to. Some truths don't need reprocessing, they just need resting. Claire started planting that week. At first, it was just lavender and thyme along the backyard fence. Then tomatoes. Then 2 sunflowers by the porch. I read somewhere, she said, dirt on her cheek, that planting things is how survivors make peace. Nathan helped dig. I built a small bench for her to sit and write, something she'd started doing quietly every morning at sunrise. Not posts, not essays, just personal letters. To herself, to the future, to the girl she used to be. This garden, she told me one morning, it's not just for beauty. It's proof. Proof something can grow where everything once felt dead. And every seed, every bloom, it was proof that she wasn't just healed. She was growing. 3 weeks later, there was a knock. Not loud, not urgent. I opened it, and Claire stood there, but not alone. Beside her. Lisa. Hair tied back. No makeup. No dramatic entrance. Just eyes filled with guilt and something else. Humility. Claire looked unsure, like the ground beneath her was still being tested. I asked her to come, she said. I looked at Lisa. Her eyes didn't dodge. I'm not here to win anything, she said. Not her. Not you. Just here, to face the thing I created. We stood in silence for a beat too long. Then Claire broke it. I'm not ready to forgive, she said. But I am ready to let go. Lisa nodded, voice quiet. That's more than I deserve. No dramatics. No collapse. Just an adult moment. Clean, raw, real. Claire turned to me. You okay with her staying for dinner? I looked at the woman who cost me years. Then I looked at the daughter I'd gotten back. Only if she brings dessert. Claire smiled. Lisa blinked. Maybe even fought back a tear. That night, we sat at the same table. History didn't vanish. But somehow, the room didn't feel poisoned anymore. A week later, Lisa sent Claire a box. It wasn't big. Just like cardboard, hand-labeled. What you were never meant to lose. Inside were school photos, hair clips, the cast from Claire's arm in 7th grade, a locket with a photo of both of us. One I'd thought was destroyed. A note on top, this was never mine to keep. I hope it finds you whole. Claire didn't cry. She just took each item out with care, like she was handling sacred relics. Then she did something I didn't expect. She placed the box on the shelf in her writing nook, next to a framed photo of the 3 of us at the second wedding. She doesn't get to rewrite history, she told me, but I won't erase her either. That night, we had dinner again, just me, Claire, Nathan. 3 plates, 3 chairs. But across the table, 1 seat stayed empty. And for once, that absence didn't feel like a wound. It felt like choice. A reminder of everything lost, and everything we chose not to lose again. It was Nathan's idea, a small campfire, just us and a few close friends, no agenda. Just warmth, sky, and space to breathe. Claire brought out her guitar. She didn't play often, but tonight her fingers moved gently over the strings, picking a quiet tune as the flames cracked and danced. I used to think the past was a fire, she said, voice barely above the crackle. Something that burned everything it touched. She looked at me. But now, I think the past is the wood. It fuels what you choose to light. Silence. Then Nathan added, and if you light it with truth, it gives warmth, not destruction. Everyone nodded, not because they were being polite, but because they felt it. After the others left, Claire stayed behind with me. Dad, she said softly, I don't want to just be someone who survived. I want to build something. You already are, I replied. Every day you wake up and choose peace over resentment. That's construction. She looked at the fire. Then let's promise something. To what? To never let silence grow roots again. We clinked mugs like an oath. And just like that, the quiet wasn't empty anymore. It was chosen. The next morning, Claire knocked on my door holding a thick manila envelope. Something came in the mail for you. It had a military seal. My name. But no return sender. Inside was a declassified summary. Subject line, Victor Ross, final status. My breath caught. Nathan's father. There, in crisp language and black ink, was the final report. Victor had attempted to appeal his discharge quietly 5 years ago. Denied. And 3 months later, he died in a private hospice center. Cancer. No family contact recorded. I showed it to Nathan later that evening. He didn't cry. He just exhaled long and slow, like his lungs had waited years to let that breath go. I always wondered if I'd get to ask him why, he said. You already know why, I replied. Because he couldn't face you with the truth. Nathan folded the paper and slid it into his back pocket. Then I'll face it for both of us. It wasn't closure in the Hollywood sense. It was heavier, but truer. And it freed something in him that no answer ever could. Claire was invited to speak again, this time on a podcast focused on intergenerational trauma and rebuilding identity. She asked if I'd go with her. Not to speak, she said, just to be in the room. I did. She told the story cleanly, not dramatized, not oversimplified, just honest. Her voice didn't waver. She said Lisa's name without hate. She said mine with peace. But one part caught me hard. My dad didn't save me. He waited for me. And sometimes, waiting is the hardest form of love. I wasn't sure how to react, but I didn't need to. Because she didn't say it for me. She said it because it was true. After the interview, the host asked, what would you tell someone still stuck in the middle of a lie? Claire paused, then answered, find one piece of truth. Even a single thread. Hold it. Protect it. One thread is all it takes to unravel a lie. She left the studio smiling. And for once, she didn't look like someone who had escaped something. She looked like someone building forward. 2 days later, Lisa called. Claire didn't flinch when the screen lit up. She answered. On speaker. Hi, Lisa said. I saw the podcast. Claire waited. I just wanted to say thank you. For not making me a monster. You could have. Maybe you should have. You made your own decisions, Claire replied. Calm. Controlled. Lisa's voice cracked. I'm in therapy now. Claire nodded. That's good. A pause. I won't bother you again, Lisa said. Unless you ever want me to. I know, Claire replied. Then a soft goodbye. Click. No breakdown. No screaming. Just a quiet ending. And as the silence returned to the room, Claire looked at us and said, I think that was the last ghost. And for once, silence felt like peace, not absence. It was Claire's idea. We never had one, she said, holding a small vintage camera Nathan found at a thrift store. A real one. Just the three of us. We stood under the big oak in their backyard. The same one that had watched our story unfold. From the second wedding to the campfire promise, to the day Claire planted her first seed. Now the branches were full. Sunlight filtered through the leaves like it was choosing us on purpose. Nathan adjusted the camera on a tripod, set the timer, then ran to join us. Claire was in the middle, arms linked with both of us. Don't pose, she said. Just be. The camera clicked. A soft shutter sound. The photo printed 10 minutes later, slightly faded, warm-toned. No filters. No edits. Just truth. Claire's smile wasn't perfect. Her hair was a little wind-blown. Nathan had a smudge of dirt on his sleeve from fixing the garden fence. And me? I wasn't standing stiff like a soldier. I looked present, alive. We pinned the photo to the fridge. No glass, no frame, just a magnet that read, "Built, not born." Because that's what we were now. A family not inherited by name, but forged through fire, healed by truth, and held together by choice. Claire called me to the patio late one afternoon. She had a small, square envelope in her hand, the kind people use for invitations or announcements. She looked nervous. "Open it," she said, voice softer than usual. I peeled it back carefully. Inside, a professionally printed card. Elegant black lettering. Claire Jensen Ross, now legally changed and recorded. New name, Claire Ross. Father, Michael Ross. Adoptive naming, confirmed and requested by Claire Jensen. My fingers froze over the paper. I blinked once. Twice. Claire bit her lip. I know I'm not a kid anymore. And I know paperwork doesn't erase anything, but I wanted it to mean something. That you, weren't temporary. Nathan walked up beside her, wrapping an arm gently around her shoulders. "I want to carry the name that raised me back from silence," she said. The one that showed up. I couldn't speak for a few seconds. Just held the card like it weighed more than anything I'd carried overseas. Finally, I managed. "I never needed a title. But if you're giving me one, I'll carry it forever." She smiled. "Then carry it proud." And I did. Because now, for the first time, the name Ross didn't belong to just one soldier. It belonged to a family. Claire stood in front of the full-length mirror, fingers smoothing down the delicate lace at her sleeves. No veil, no pretense. Just her, elegant, grounded, radiant in a soft champagne-colored dress that made her look exactly like who she'd become. Someone strong enough to survive, and kind enough to begin again. Nathan adjusted his tie nervously across the room, then turned to me. "You think she's really ready for this?" he asked. I smiled. She was ready the moment she started choosing her own story. The ceremony wasn't grand, just a quiet glade on the edge of town, where trees arched like watchful guardians. Claire didn't want flower girls or scripted vows. She wanted honesty, simplicity, truth. And when she walked down the aisle, not with a father giving her away, but walking towards something with strength, I felt every step like a closing chapter and an opening one all at once. During the vows, Nathan's voice shook. "I didn't just fall in love with you," he said. "I stood in love with you, day after day, through things most couples would never survive." Claire's reply was calm, steady. "You found me when I didn't know who I was. And you never tried to fix me, just held space until I found the missing pieces." No crowd erupted into applause. Just soft smiles. A quiet yes. And when they kissed, it wasn't just a ceremony. It was a resurrection. The death of who they were told to be, and the birth of who they chose to become. Months passed. Life became quiet in the best way. No headlines. No drama. Just dinners. Walks. Days that felt like they belonged to us. Claire had taken a job with a local youth center, mentoring teens who'd grown up in silence the way she had. Nathan got certified as a trauma counselor for veterans. As for me, I started writing. Just a few pages a day. Notes. Reflections. Memories I never thought I'd share. But one afternoon, Claire sat beside me on the porch with 2 mugs of tea and asked, "You ever think we'll tell this story to someone else? Like, the world?" She laughed. "No. I mean someone who'll call you Grandpa someday." I froze, not with fear, but the kind of stunned hope that makes your breath catch. "You serious?" She nodded. "Not yet. But maybe soon." I looked out at the yard, the oak tree, the garden, the bench where so many truths had been spoken. And I realized something I never thought I'd feel again. Not peace, not closure, but joy. Real, earned, quiet, beautiful joy. I turned back to her and said a line I'd never believed I'd say, not after everything. This was worth surviving for. She smiled, leaned into my shoulder. And we sat there in the sun, not needing to say another word. Because when truth finally wins, silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the presence of peace. The end.